government officials say housing units for District 6 land claimants will be completed in 3 years or earlier. About 60,000 residents were forcibly removed back in 1966 by the apartheid government through the Group Areas Act. Joining me now is the Chief Land Claims Commissioner, that's Nomfundo Ntloko-Gobodo. She talks to us via the virtual platform. Ms. Ntloko-Gobodo, thank you very much for your time. Let's start with that deadline that government has set itself, 3 years or earlier. Is that going to be achieved?
Good morning, Tole. I hope you can hear me.
I can hear you well. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you very much for the opportunity. The deadline that we set for ourselves is a court date deadline. It's a 2025 deadline, which emanated from an application that was taken in the Land Claims Court. So, barring any challenges like further COVID and lockdown, we anticipate that we should be able to meet the deadline that was we set ourselves when we submitted our documents in court.
Well, with that response that it is a court deadline, it's clear that government has somewhat delayed in completing this project. What brought about the delays?
Thank you. District 6 as a claim or multiple claims is a complex one, and it's not as easy as government has delayed. In fact, if I were to give you a brief history, the claim itself was in court in the late 90s, where there were issues about whether the land in question was restorable. And in 2000, there was an agreement between the city, the department, and the beneficiaries themselves, the claimants. And so the claim was settled as early as 2000. And when the claim was settled, the city donated the 42 hectares for the development. At that point in time, the community, and remember that you had individual claimants who lodged in District 6.
Yes.
And they, of their own volition, decided that they were going to set up a District 6 trust, which was registered in 2001, and they were going to develop the site themselves. They were going to pool their resources in terms of the grants that government would have provided, and they would develop themselves. So they did so. They did so under Phase 1 and Phase 2. And then there were challenges, and government then came in 2012 to assist the community, because now there were certain challenges about whether the trust could manage to finish off the development. So we only got involved in 2012, and which is when we were now able to plan for Phase 3, which we completed last year.
Yeah.
So it's a bit complex than just a delay. It's a process that we had to intervene in 2012.
Some 60,000 occupants were moved at the time. With this new development, do you think you'll be able to accommodate a figure close to that, or possibly even more?
Toli, I think what one would have to remember is that in terms of the Restitution Act, you have to have lodged a claim before the cut-off date of 1998, December 1998. And so by that time, we had received over 2,670 claimants who lodged. And so there was a cut-off date. So if you did not lodge before that date, then you are not considered under the current dispensation. And so that is the difference. I'm aware that there are various groupings who would have wanted to be considered, but in terms of the Restitution Act, which I am responsible for, we only consider those individuals who lodged a claim. And we are also confirming that in 2014, the Restitution Amendment Act introduced a reopening for all of those people who did not lodge in the first round. So we refer to the ones that lodged in 1994, as old order claimants and the ones who lodged 2014 to 2016 as new order claimants. So the new order claimants were interdicted by the Constitutional Court, where Lamusa took us to court to say we needed to focus on the old order claims and not prioritize new order claims, and there were issues of consultation. And so that we were interdicted by the Constitutional Court from touching the new order claims. So our focus is on the old order claims, where 1,274 of the claimants opted for development. And again, remember that these were individual families or who lodged individual claims. And when it was time for development, they opted to operate as a collective through the trust. So when you make reference to 60,000 or more, that would be an issue that would be considered, number one, under the new order claims for those who decided to lodge. And if they did not lodge during the new order process, then they would have to be considered outside of the restitution process. But that does not mean that government would not have initiatives, because land reform in general is not about just restitution. It's also about redistribution. It's also about tenure upgrades.
Yeah, very briefly, if you can, on this last response. So you're saying that 178 claimants are people that are known to you as the Land Claims Commissioner, and the court.
It's 1,000, only 1,274.
Wow. And the claims court, on the other hand, has forced you to ensure that 108 housing units are built for these claimants. So 1,000 versus 108 units. Is that going to be able to accommodate those people if indeed they are successful?
Yes.
In fact, they are successful.
So, sorry, apology.
Yes, you may continue.
Thank you. You said I was hurry up, so I was trying to do so. The important thing is that when we planned phase 3 of the development for the 108, it was not a court demanded process. It was part of our intervention, which started in 2012. But we have submitted a full plan to court for us to cater for the full 1,274 beneficiaries who opted for redevelopment. And that is the plan that is now in court. We submit quarterly reports, and we anticipate that phase 4 and 5 will commence as soon as possible so that we're able to meet the deadline. We've already appointed the professionals that are required to be able to plan. We are continuing to consult with the beneficiaries. They are aware of the development and the timelines.